Today, y'all went through and killed our live stream. We had over 400 likes on the live stream before we even ended. Thank you for that. And I guess if y'all want us to, I'm already drafting these teams every single day. Looks like we may be back to live streaming every single day fantasy football drafts. Of course, we'll be trying to get as many of y'all in here because I know we've had a lot of people wanting to draft with us. It's not that hard. All you got to do is make sure you're dropping likes on these live streams. Make sure you're going down there, subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we're going live. I believe we just set up the chat. Let me switch over real quick and share the screen. We are going to be hopping into a Best Ball Mania draft. So these are the drafts on Underdog Fantasy that you are going to see that massive prize pool at the very end for the people that make it to the fantasy football playoffs, navigate their way through that tournament. Yeah, you get money if you get first place in your 12-team league. You get money if you get second place in your 12-team league. But what we're looking for is the money at the very top. Now, there are 11 spots open in this draft room, so it may take a little bit of time. Let me go and send out a notification to let people know that we are live and we are sitting in here. I guess maybe it's not going to take that long. We are getting these filled relatively quickly. 6 spots open. I guess we don't have to send a notification. These are filling up quickly. And Thomas says, don't want to join these. Can't win 2 million if Mason's in the draft. He's too good at my man. I'm going to tell you, you probably have a better shot at winning the 2 million if you hop into a draft with me, if we're going to be completely honest here. Okay, we have 3 spots open in this draft. Let me send out a link in the live stream if anybody wants to hop into this with us. And of course, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. If somehow you have not already, go sign up with promo code FLOCK. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But let me give some shout out to the people in the stream right now. We got Lukey, Eddie, Matthew, Michael, Joseph, Andrew, Thomas, and Tucker. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so 2 spots left in this draft. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's get this going right now. Okay, maybe we are going to be sitting here for a second. So if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Okay, so Michael says, Dynasty video today was spot on. Okay, so if you didn't have a chance to watch our Dynasty video, we talked about some buy low wide receivers. From a Dynasty fantasy football perspective, I really think the idea of going and buying low on Jerry Jeudy, somehow Keenan Allen. I don't know why people in Dynasty just give Keenan Allen no respect whatsoever, despite being a top 5 wide receiver every single season since like 2017. And then not top 5, top 12 wide receiver. I apologize for that. And also Darnell Mooney. But you're going to see in these drafts, those players I don't think are nearly as disrespected in these underdog drafts. So we have 2 spots left, guys. We are in the Best Ball Mania 3 draft room. If you want to go hop in, you can get into these drafts just in the public lobby. You can go get into drafts with your friends. You can go get into drafts with us on the live stream. Here's your opportunity. We got 1 spot left. Make sure you go join. If you're too late and you go hit join, you can always back out. But okay, no, this is filled. Give us something good. Yesterday, we picked at the 110 and the 101. I'm actually fine something in the middle. Okay, we get the 108 in this draft. Let's go through. Let's check out who we're going to be drafting with. Okay, so we have Radius. Okay, we are used to drafting with the Radius, a very sharp drafter. We have Colin. We're used to drafting with Eric, I believe, was possibly out here last night, flocking up my dude, obviously part of the flock. Loco out here, happy to see. And let me know if I did not recognize your name. I think Al Johnson is also a part of the flock. So about half this draft room is probably watching this live stream right now, which is pretty fun, of course. Kyle says, how do we know if Burks is going to be the wide receiver 1 over Robert Woods? Of course, you can never know with certainty, but you can look at the injury that Robert Woods has, and at the same time, we can say, hell, well, both of these wide receivers are just now getting to Tennessee. I would say you probably have a higher floor with Robert Woods, assuming that he is healthy this upcoming season, but possibly the higher ceiling with Treylon Burks based on the prospect profile coming out of Arkansas. Dragon says, damn, I missed it. My man. We were sitting in here for like 5 minutes. We were sitting in here for quite a while. Okay, so on the clock, you have Rico taking Jonathan Taylor at the 101. I've said this time and time again, you don't know if Jonathan Taylor is guaranteed to be the running back 1 again this upcoming season, but who else are you going to pick there. Like if you're betting on someone to finish as the running back 1, it's not likely Jonathan Taylor's going to be able to do it, but he probably has the best shot out of any other running back this upcoming season. And on top of that, if you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, if you don't draft him at the 101 and you go through and do 100 of these drafts, you are never going to get him. He is never going to fall to the 102. He will never fall to the 103. And if you want any exposure to Jonathan Taylor whatsoever, you better be taking him at the 101 or you just have no shot at getting him. Okay, so CMC 102, Cooper Kupp 103, no surprises just yet. Really, you're never going to see a surprise in the top 3 picks. The biggest surprise I've ever seen is having Jamar Chase go at 3 ahead of Cooper Kupp, which I personally can't get behind. I understand the argument behind it, though, based on his rookie season. Okay, let's switch this over. We are at the 108. Jefferson goes at the 105. I think I know who we're going to be taking, and he's probably one of my most drafted wide. I'm gonna zip the lip real quick. Okay, so Eric on the clock. You have to assume he goes Chase. Chase very rarely makes it outside the top 6. He goes Jamar Chase at the 106. Bonbu 7, I believe that's how you say this name on the clock here. Eckler, Najee Harris, the best available players according to ADP. Loco says, I'm finally in. Happy to have you out here. And yeah, we were going to go Stephon Diggs. That was the initial plan, but now that Diggs is off the board, it is what it is. We're going to go Austin Eckler. With Eckler, it's a long shot, but we can pray that we get Keenan Allen making it back to us in the 3rd. Probably won't happen. If you were to want to go through and create that Los Angeles Chargers mega stack, you could, in theory, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could go ahead and take Keenan Allen in the 2nd, Mike Williams in the 3rd, Justin Herbert in the 4th. But to go in on one offense through the first 4 picks of your draft seems reckless. Like, I don't think we could really justify it. So we're probably not going to be taking Keenan Allen in the 2nd round, despite, honestly, I think that he is kind of similar to some of those other wide receivers. But a lot of drafts, you are getting Keenan Allen falling to the 3rd. Okay, Dalvin, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon go at the back end of round 1. Travis Kelce at the 112. Okay, there's one player that I have not been able to draft in these Best Ball Mania drafts that I'm really hoping makes it back to us. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb goes at pick 14. Al, then Jeffrey are going to be picking between us. There's really one player that I want. I do not think I've drafted him yet on this live stream. Al says, I always get picked 10, 11, or 12. It's just tough this year because once you get past like that initial tier of guys, like when you run out of Travis Kelce, the 112, at the beginning of the 2nd round, it's all ugly. Like, there's not that much of a difference between someone like Deebo Samuel and Keenan Allen that you're getting a full round after an ADP. At least in my opinion. I know some people are going to disagree with that. Okay, Jeffrey, what is he doing here? Hell yes. Okay, this is what I wanted. We have yet to be able to bring in Mark Andrews. Let's bring Mark Andrews in on this roster. This was the tight end 2 last season on a points per game basis. He was number 1 among all tight ends in target share for that Baltimore Ravens offense. If you're looking at the quarterback play, it was atrocious. Now, Lamar Jackson, obviously not a great passer, but Lamar Jackson has averaged about 7.5 for his adjusted yards per pass attempt throughout his entire NFL career. Huntley, on the other hand, was closer to about 5.2. Keep in mind, this is off the top of my head, so maybe we're a little bit off 1 or 2 decimals. No, it was horrible quarterback play. And on top of this, you are now getting Hollywood Brown, who averaged over 25% of this team's target share on a per game basis, shipped over to Arizona. So even if the passing attempts per game come down, you're going to see the efficiency take a massive jump up in Baltimore with Mark Andrews. And on top of this, I am interested in targeting Lamar Jackson a little more aggressively in these drafts. So getting Andrews in the middle of the 2nd round, I'm going to be very excited about that. Thomas says, I prefer Mike Williams over Keenan Allen straight up in this format specifically. Mike Williams has spike weeks and outscored Keenan Allen in 2021 in half PPR. The issue is Keenan Allen Mike Williams did all that like through the first 6 weeks of the season. Remember, at one point, Mike Williams was a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy. Like, it was ridiculous. I agree with you. In this format, in best ball, Mike Williams obviously has a significantly higher average at the target. He is going to be a little bit more volatile on a week-to-week basis. I understand it. I'm still going to prefer Keenan, though. And maybe I'm just a sucker for those targets. They do matter less in half PPR than they are going to be in a full PPR. Okay, so Self-Made Fantasy says, afternoon live stream drafts are the best. Thank you, my man, for coming out. And real quick, if y'all have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy, which I know every single person watching this live stream has, but just in case you're watching it as a video later on, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy with the link in the live chat, the description of the video, the comment section, wherever you find it. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, you can go hop in these drafts yourself. You can get in a draft with us on the live stream. You can go get in a draft with your friends, whatever you want. Have some fun in your life. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They will also match your initial deposit dollar for dollar up to $100 when you use promo code FLOCK. You will also get our 2022 rankings, our 2022 Dynasty rankings, our 2022 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. Please take advantage of that. Zachary out here in the chat, my man, you should have got in this draft with us. Zachary was drafting with us last night, posting some of his teams a part of the locals community as well. Okay, so this team here, Rico decides to do what we couldn't yesterday. They go with the receiver at the 2-3 turn. We tried something new yesterday, and it was horrible. I hated it. We tried going 3 running backs in a row the first 3 rounds here with Jonathan Taylor. I felt very uncomfortable. Probably not doing it again if we're going to be completely honest. Keenan Allen goes at the 303. It was a pipe dream to ever think we were getting Keenan Allen. It is what it is. James Conner goes at the 304, and I guess Josh Allen's falling. I would imagine Bond here, who takes Stephon Diggs, does not allow Josh Allen to get past them. If he does, he is legitimately a crazy person, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it happens. Maybe it happens. Saquon Barkley goes to flocking up my dude, who also took Aaron Jones at pick 20 ahead of his ADP. I'm telling you right now, you were getting Aaron Jones in the 3rd round earlier this offseason. Aaron Jones, probably starting next week, will not make it out of the middle of the 2nd round. He will probably end the offseason going at the beginning of the 2nd. I think Aaron Jones is going to be a player dramatically pushed up draft boards. Okay, so Josh Allen goes here at the 306. Obviously, we are hoping that Pitts goes off the board. We're not really wanting to bring in Kyle Pitts on a team where we have Mark Andrews as well. I'm not a big fan of really any of the players in this range. Okay. Bond has 2 wide receivers. Hopefully they just take Pitts. Have they been auto-drafting? I don't think so. Yeah, no, they haven't been auto-drafting. They go Michael Pittman. We need to go wide receiver in the 3rd. It would be intriguing to bring in Mike Williams so we could potentially set up a Justin Herbert stack a little bit later on. But the thing is, if we're looking at ADP, a lot of teams with the same build probably are getting Justin Herbert in the 4th. If they're getting Justin Herbert in the 4th, I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable going out of our way and reaching for him. I'm sorry, getting Mike Williams in the 4th. So we're going to take Waddle here. I don't love Waddle by any means. I'm not a fan of Tua Tagovailoa. If you do look at Jalen Waddle, though, with his rookie season production, it was absurd. Like, if we're looking at Jalen Waddle, and we're going to be completely fair, does put up one of the better rookie wide receiver seasons that we've had in the past decade. Take him at the 3-0. It's going to be fine. Okay, you have Jerry Jeudy at the 309 right after Jalen Waddle. Y'all know we made the Dynasty video today, saying to go buy low on Jerry Jeudy in Dynasty. I can't get behind taking Jerry Jeudy here in the 3rd round of a redraft format over someone like Kyle Pitts. I'm taking Kyle Pitts here every day of the week. You have Deontay Johnson going at the 411. Let's see. Obviously, we're hoping Mike Williams makes it back to us at this point. We're hoping Mike Williams makes it back. Ryan says, what do you think about the Broncos wide receivers this year? Who is the wide receiver 1? It's Jerry Jeudy. It's not close. I don't think we need to talk in depth on that because we just spent an entire video on the Dynasty channel talking about that today. But Mahomes goes to the 312 is what you should come to expect from the team that decides to take Travis Kelce. And the first, Cam Akers goes to the 401 as well. Probably helps us. We're not necessarily in the market for another running back when we were kind of behind the 8 ball as is at the wide receiver position. Hollywood Brown goes to the 402. Sucks to see that Al Johnson probably is not. He goes Mike Williams. That blows for us. Maybe here Jeffrey goes tight end. Take Darren Waller. Get Waller off the board. He goes DJ Moore. Oh my God. We did this last draft as well. We got suckered into Metcalf in the last draft. I prefer Hollywood. I prefer Mike Williams. I prefer DJ Moore. But when Metcalf is falling to this point, I don't think it's the worst value in the world. We will go ahead. We'll take DK Metcalf. We need a wide receiver. If we were looking at other options, I mean, obviously you can talk yourself into Amari Cooper, who will be playing in a significantly better offense this upcoming season. But Amari Cooper essentially just got cut by the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I know he wasn't cut. He was traded for like a 4th round pick. But if you look at the contract, essentially he was cut. It was just Cleveland agreeing to take on that contract and to compensate him with a worthless pick there in, I believe, on day 3. We'll go Metcalf over Amari. Godwin's also intriguing, but the thing is we're also getting Godwin on these Jonathan Taylor builds. So if Godwin's going to fall to us later in drafts that we possibly do on the live stream tomorrow, on the next day, the day after that, we're going to have to take Metcalf at the 405. So far, running back 1, Eckler. We have the elite level tight end with Mark Andrews, which will allow us to only draft 2 tight ends in this format. And I will say this, I want to put out a massive disclaimer. I have made the mistake multiple times before in these live streams, going out and saying, you know what, when you bring in someone like Rob Gronkowski and pair him with a Cole Kmet, 2 tight ends we like, you only have to draft 2. No. That I've been horribly wrong. You have to draft 3 tight ends. Unless you get Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, you could make the argument for Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller. Unless you get one of those top 4 tight ends, I think you have to draft 3 of them. I was saying the opposite previously this offseason. I think I was wrong. If you look at advance rates from Underdog Best Ball Leagues last year, it looks like the ideal roster construction is actually going to be 3 tight ends, specifically 3 late tight ends, which is interesting. Okay, so now we have a Courtland Sutton going at the 411. So we have a little bit of a wide receiver run, which you should come to expect. I really like the value of Godwin. I love this team that Loco's going through and building. Kupp in the first, Swift in the second, and then going out there and getting 2 wide receiver values in Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin in the 3rd and 4th round. Love this build right here. Love that. Justin Herbert goes to the 412. Interesting to see Justin Herbert go there. I may not necessarily agree with it, especially on a team that, I mean, you're looking at the wide receiver core as just T. Higgins. You know what? It's a fine pick of Herbert because you already took Jonathan Taylor and Javonte Williams. So it's hard for you to go through and take, just say, the quote-unquote value that you have with the running backs in this range. What I would have probably done instead is I probably would have pivoted over to the tight end position. If we didn't have one of those Los Angeles Chargers pass catchers, I probably would have gone with George Kittle at that selection. But I understand because you are kind of at the dead zone of the wide receiver range where you're very uncomfortable taking Allen Robinson, very uncomfortable taking someone like Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't want to say it's fine. I understand why someone would do it, though. Okay, so Loco on the clock. They go Breece Hall at the 503. Breece Hall will be someone that's probably being drafted higher than this by the time we get to the season. Now, I will say, y'all know, I am very worried about the Jets. I do not think Zach Wilson's a good quarterback. We've been on record saying this. I've been getting so much hate for saying it as well. Breece Hall, I think, will be able to overcome that offense because if you go through wide receivers, you actually do need efficient quarterback play to find that elite level ceiling. Whereas at the running back position, if you are just going to get touch after touch after touch, you can overcome an inefficient offense just based off the volume that you have by yourself. So I'm kind of fine going with Breece Hall, even though we expect the New York Jets to be bad, because I just think that Breece Hall is a 3-down bell cow running back. And if you're getting that in the 5th round as a rookie, I'm excited about it. Okay, so we have Bond. Boo, 7. You better not freaking do it. Come on, Lordy. There we go. That's exactly what we were wanting. When we take Mark Andrews in the 2nd round, you need to send up a prayer. The second you hit draft on Mark Andrews, you got to send up a prayer. Pray that you get Lamar Jackson coming in. This was a tandem that was going at the 2-3 turn. The 2-3 turn in some drafts last year. Getting this discount on Lamar Jackson because of the injury, I could not be more excited about this. This just made this draft fantastic. I am ecstatic getting Lamar Jackson to the 508. He fell to us, I believe, at like the 511 in a draft yesterday. We didn't have Mark Andrews because the team at the end ended up double tapping the tight end position. But yeah, getting Andrews at the 205, Lamar Jackson to the 508, you could walk away with the tight end 1 and the quarterback 1 in fantasy football with that combination. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. And so if we're looking at Lamar Jackson as well, now we're only going to be drafting one other quarterback in this league. We're only going to be drafting one other tight end, one other quarterback, probably going to be building around 5 to 6 running backs, depending on where the value falls later on in this draft. And then we're going to be just hammering in receiver. So far, we have wide receivers that are a part of, I don't want to say bad offenses, but have bad quarterbacks throwing them the ball, which I am not excited about. Logan says great value. Carl says I like the build so far. Thank you, my dudes. I'm excited about it. Okay, so Josh Jacobs goes to the 512. I know we got a lot of hate. Bateman going at the 601. I would have been excited about Bateman making it back to us. It is what it is, though. We can't get greedy here. We can't get greedy. We got our guy. Okay, so I know a lot of people gave us hate for going with Antonio Gibson over Josh Jacobs. Clearly, Antonio Gibson has his own question marks. This is a running back that you're looking at saying, hell, I mean, we don't necessarily know if the coaching staff likes him, led the NFL in fumbles last season. And on top of this, they go out there and draft Brian Robinson in the 3rd round. They re-sign J.D. McKissick. Looks like Antonio Gibson is likely to be in a committee. But you know what? We'll see what Jeffrey does here first. Let's see what Jeffrey does. Maybe we end up going receiver. So he goes Chris Olave. Dear God. Okay, so he's clearly going for that New Orleans Saints stack. He has Alvin Kamara in the 2nd. Then he grabbed Michael Thomas and reached a crap ton for Olave. So I understand, yes, Antonio Gibson may easily be in a committee this upcoming season. That is a real concern. But look at the other running backs available right now. Elijah Mitchell, A.J. Dillon, Miles Sanders, Cordell Patterson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenneth Walker. Are we certain that none of those other running backs are going to be in the committee? I don't necessarily think so. We're getting Antonio Gibson at pick 65. He has an ADP of 56. So we're fine with it. Our running back 2, we still need to bring in more wide receiver help. We probably have the worst wide receiver core in the league, outside of flocking up my dude who's sitting alone with Justin Jefferson. But I still love this team. I love this team so far. Okay, so Tom Brady goes at the 608. We want to see these quarterbacks go off the board. Do not mistake it. Once we have Lamar Jackson in the 5th, we're going, oh, please, Lord, get some quarterbacks going off. Elijah Mitchell, the 607. We want to see that as well. We need quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends. We're pretty much just hoping wide receivers make it back to us. We're really hoping wide receivers make it back to us. Okay, so Matthew says, I love your draft compared to mine. I think I should have taken Dobbins. Okay, Matthew Dobbins. I'm assuming that's Bond. Matthew, please let me know what your underdog name is here. Please let me know. Where did Akers end up going? The 401? Okay, so London goes at the 610. Treylon Burks goes to the 608. Interesting to see Treylon Burks go ahead of Drake London. Really like the value of London at the 6-7 turn here. You're going to loco just slamming this draft. A wide receiver 4 as Drake London with 2 top young running backs, DeAndre Swift and Breece Hall. I think you can be excited about that. Matthew says his team is Radius. So you're saying you wish you wouldn't have taken Cam Akers. So you go Cam Akers over some of the receivers here. It is interesting. I guess you probably are put in a weird position because I agree with you. Josh Jacobs is definitely better than the wide receivers that were available to you at this point. I'm assuming you probably were hoping that you had like a Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson and Brandon Cooks making it to you at this 5-6 turn. So you could have gone receiver. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at this, I would agree. If we could go back into a time machine, you probably prefer Mike Williams. You probably prefer Hollywood Brown or even DJ Moore over Cam Akers. But at the same time, it's not like you're guaranteed to get Josh Jacobs falling to you at the end of the 5th. And on top of that, you're not guaranteed for all those wide receivers to go right ahead of you. Okay, so A.J. Dillon, best player according to ADP. Then Smith, DeAndre Hopkins, Adam Thielen, Sky Moore. Sky Moore has just been a rocket ship up these draft boards. Like Sky Moore is going how many picks? He's going at pick 81 compared to Garrett Wilson at pick 94, compared to Christian Watson at pick 97. Ooh, I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan to say the least. Thomas says the 111 looks like the best team to me. Okay, we'll go through and we'll check out the 111 after our pick. But real quick, we are about to pass 100 likes in the live stream. If you have not gone down there and dropped a like on the stream, please make sure you do that right now. Sky Moore goes at the 705. Okay, so Sky Moore, his ADP continuing to rise, I guess. Miles Sanders at the 706. That's kind of what we were hoping for at this point. And oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. So keep in mind, we are only drafting 2 quarterbacks. We're only drafting 2 tight ends in this league. That will open up some extra wide receiver slots for us. AJ Dillon goes. Okay, so we don't really have a argument for any direction other than DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the easy selection here as our wide receiver 3. We're looking for the elite level ceiling once we get to that playoff tournament. So of course, if we were just in a private draft right now, like if you're just doing a private 12-team draft with your friends, you're not taking DeAndre Hopkins in the 7th because you're going to be bleeding so many points through the first 6 weeks of the season. But what we can say is probably won't be too many teams in the tournament that were able to maintain enough production to get there with DeAndre Hopkins and him getting 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 at the beginning part of the season. And on top of it, he will have that elite level ceiling once we get to weeks 15, 16, 17. So if we were talking about a player that could break the tournament at a low ownership percentage, I think DeAndre Hopkins is a fine pick at the 708, especially if he's going after guys like Sky Moore, like Devonta Smith. I have no worries about taking DeAndre Hopkins here as our wide receiver 3 in the slightest. Okay, so now not really interested in quarterback, especially when we don't have a Dallas Cowboy, when we don't have a Los Angeles Ram. Like, there's no reason for us to be taking either Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford here. Dylan says, hey, Mason. Hey, Flock. Just stopping in to say hi. Thank you, my man Dylan, of course, for the support. Thank you for coming out to the live stream. Shtick says, why is Dak going so late? One reason is if you're looking at Dak Prescott, he no longer has the rushing upside that he presented at the beginning part of his NFL career. Of course, some of that's due to age. Some of that's due to the significant injury and possibly just a change in playing style overall. Okay, so Dak Prescott does go at the 802. Matthew Stafford at the 803. Okay, so that helps us. We were hoping these quarterbacks go off the board when we have Lamar. God, don't make me do it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes. Now, I want to be on record saying this. I need to be on record saying this. In a vacuum, Garrett Wilson, Christian Kirk, Christian Watson are better options than Hunter Renfro. Now, the issue with this is we're going to be drafting about 200 of these teams this upcoming season. So if we're looking at Hunter Renfro, who has an ADP of 86, compared to Garrett Wilson as an ADP of 94, we're just simply going to be able to get Garrett Wilson. We're going to be able to get Christian Watson later. Like, there's a chance one of these wide receivers ends up making it back to us. We kind of need to go with a wide receiver here. We are getting Hunter Renfro behind his ADP. I'm not a big Hunter Renfro fan, but sometimes if we're going to be drafting so many of these teams, we have to balance our exposures. We have to draft for our construction rather than just what we are going to be doing in terms of our player preference. So we'll take Renfro there, even though Garrett Wilson is a way better receiver. The issue is Zach Wilson. Colin says, snipe me on DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, Hopkins was an easy pick. I was excited by getting Hopkins there. Dragon Isle says, no way I can justify Sky Moore over Drake London. I don't care about Kansas City versus the Jets at that rate. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about Sky Moore versus Garrett Wilson, not Drake London. Because, yeah, you have Drake London going rounds before Sky Moore usually in these drafts. Here he goes about only 7 picks before. Dear God. They were closer than I thought. But yeah, I am assuming you're talking about Garrett Wilson. You're flocking up, my dude, may be able to take the combination of Sky Moore and Garrett Wilson if he's wanting. But the issue is, once you go out of your way and you start stacking on those rookies, like you have Treylon Burks, you have Sky Moore. Of course, rookies do have the best ceiling if we're talking about being cost adjusted. Just given the fact that there's a wider range of outcomes, you are going to be getting a discount on some of those players like Treylon Burks, like Sky Moore, because they do have a very low floor. And that's something we want to be targeting in these drafts where there's so much money for that tournament at the very end of the season. However, you have to be cautious about just stacking those guys time and time again, because it will be very difficult to have enough points to finally get there at the end of the year. Like, we have Loco coming out here. I think he's had fantastic value so far, but like, if we're looking at this so far, he's had Godwin in the 4th, who will potentially miss the beginning part of the season. Breece Hall in the 5th. I'm less worried about rookie running backs than we will be receivers. Drake London in the 6th. Garrett Wilson in the 8th. So through 8 rounds, you have 4 players there that are potentially not going to be giving you anything at the beginning part of the season. So I think at that point, you kind of have to cut yourself off, if we're going to be completely honest. So I would be interested to see if he continues to slam those rookies, even though individually they do have an immense amount of upside. And I'm here talking about this when I took DeAndre Hopkins as a wide receiver that's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. So I don't have much room to talk. Now, Christian Kirk goes at the 902. Let's slide this over. Dawson Knox is still available. I'd imagine that there's no way that the Josh Allen team allows us to get Dawson Knox on the way back around. Yeah, there's the Josh Allen team. They have Kittle and Goddard. Oh, that Goddard pick is so damn bad if Dawson Knox makes it to him. And then Bond, they have Stephon Diggs. Maybe they want to create like a pseudo Buffalo stack and go ahead and take Dawson Knox. Obviously, we're hoping someone does. We're hoping someone takes him. Yeah, so he goes at pick 94. You have Allen Lazard, 101. Trey Lance, 102. Robert Woods would be another player that's probably hard for us to take considering we have DeAndre Hopkins. Looking on the way back around, there are some receivers I'd like a little bit later. Do we just take a shot on an offense we like in this range? Marquez Valdes-Scantling goes. Okay. So wide receivers that we're going to be looking at on the way back around, we're going to have guys like Jameson Williams, Tyler Boyd, Kadarius Toney, Chase Claypool. The gap between those players and Robert Woods is really non-existent for me. And we already have DeAndre Hopkins, so I think it's a little bit tougher to take Robert Woods in this roster in particular. So instead, I think we're going to go with a Buffalo running back. In yesterday's live stream, we took James Cook. I think it really is up to you with these players. This one, we are going to be going with Devin Singletary, essentially just trying to get exposure to this Buffalo Bills offense. As we know from a spike week perspective that very few teams can put up as many points as the Buffalo Bills. We're bringing in Devin Singletary here to be our running back 3. I know most people in this live stream do prefer to have James Cook. I think the argument for James Cook is 100% fair, but I'm looking at it saying, well, you know what? At the end of the day, we could just split it 50-50. So took James Cook yesterday, taking Devin Singletary today. I want exposure to this backfield. Maybe I'll even take James Cook on the way back around. Bobby says, damn these Buffalo running backs. We were taking Zach Moss and Devin Singletary last year as well. And I know it's such an ugly pick, and we say we were taking Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, and people just assume, okay, you idiot. Clearly, you lost money on those picks. No, if you look, our Devin Singletary teams, Devin Singletary was crushing the field just because the touchdowns that he had at the end of the year, and you're getting them at the 9-10 turn. So while they're unsexy picks, while they're gross picks, if we're going to be honest, they're usually profitable if you're just going to be able to come away with some touchdowns in a very productive offense. Okay, so here I can assume Jeffrey, is he continuing to pass in the quarterback position? Okay, so Kadarius Toney goes at the 10:03. Chase Edmonds at the 10:04. Okay, so clearly at this point, when James Cook does make it back to us, we are less excited about our decision to pass on Robert Woods previously because James Cook and Devin Singletary are in a very, very similar range. This is something we did last year as well, and we talked about this in another live stream where when you're in that tournament setting, I'm actually fine going and taking running back teammates, knowing that if I don't want to dive into it too much, but we're going to take James Cook here. We're going to take James Cook as our running back 4. Now, yes, we are behind the 8 ball at the wide receiver position. So far at receiver, we have Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, and Hunter Renfro. We are going to have to take a ridiculous amount of these players. Now, we are only going to be able to draft 5 rookie running backs. We're only going to be able to, 5 running backs total. We're only going to be able to draft 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. So if you just do some quick math, we're going to be able to spend 9 roster spots on the receiver position. So I think we will have a shot to be able to go through and patch things up, but it's definitely nerve-wracking when you have as many running backs as receivers through 10 rounds. Bobby says, now I actually like it. Getting both Buffalo running backs makes it pretty. You know what's really funny? Okay, listen to this. So I know I've told this story a million times, and I wish it just freaking happened. I wish that I didn't have to say what if, because woulda, coulda, shoulda. Who the hell cares? I get it. But we were so close to winning the $100,000 in the big dog tournament last year in Underdog Fantasy. That team, essentially with Travis Kelce, getting COVID the second to last week. We got knocked out of the tournament by like 3 points because we didn't have a tight end because Kelsey didn't play. And if he would have played, Kelsey would have got 3 points. We would have got past it. And we had Jamar Chase drop like 60. So we would have essentially won that last week and we would have had the $100,000. But nonetheless, on that team, we actually had that same exact build where we went through and we punted running back. However, we went through and we targeted those high upside offenses with cheap running backs later in the draft. And we took both Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, and we took both Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. It's a different build. I think it's fine if we were doing it with cheap running backs in a tournament, however. Okay, so Zach says, how high do you rank Christian Watson for redraft versus the other rookie wide receivers? I took him in a best ball draft yesterday as the rookie wide receiver 2 off the board. And one of your thoughts? That's too early, my man. Trust me, I like Christian Watson, an elite size adjusted athlete, and more importantly, a part of one of the best offenses in football. If you're looking at where Christian Watson went here, he goes to the 901. He goes behind Garrett Wilson. He goes behind Sky Moore. He goes behind Drake London and Treylon Burks. I think it's fine to have him there as wide receiver 5. Now, I personally think the mistake was letting Christian Watson make it all the way to the 901. Like, in my opinion, there's no world where Sky Moore should be going 20 picks ahead of Christian Watson. So I think that I agree with you. Christian Watson's a great value if you're getting him around pick 97. But if we're going out of our way and we are going to be reaching on him as the second wide receiver off the board, I think that is too early, just based off those other wide receivers being, in my opinion, significantly more talented, even though Watson's in the best situation out of all of them. Okay, so Damian Pierce at the 1101, Albert O at the 1102. Let's pull this back up. Clearly at this point, we need receivers making it to us. The best players available, not even close, are going to be these running backs. But I guess we could go with one and then just cap it. We may have to. Well, we'll see what ends up making it back to us. We'll see what makes it back to us. We could honestly even go Derek Carr with the fact that we took Hunter Renfro. We'd be done with our 2 quarterbacks. Derek Carr would have fallen 21 picks according to his ADP if he makes it to us at 128. Ramondre Stevenson goes at the 1104. Oh yeah, I forgot to point out Chris Olave on that draft board previously. With Chris Olave, he went so high because you have Michael Thomas and you had Alvin Kamara on that offense. So they were going through and they were trying to stack that New Orleans Saints offense. I don't necessarily agree with taking him that early. I think you probably could have waited to get Olave a little bit later, but that's essentially why he went so high in this draft. His ADP is like 20 picks behind where he went. Okay. Thing is, do we just take Derek Carr? He's fallen 21 picks according to ADP. So if we look at the teams that are between us, 6 receivers, they really can't. I guess they could take another receiver if they just want to be that way. No, we got to go and take a receiver. We're going to take Jacooby Myers. It is what it is. At this point, we just need targets. It's hard for us to go out of our way and to take another one of those players that won't be providing us production early, as we have DeAndre Hopkins, as I have previously mentioned. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in targets. We're trying to pretty much just put a Band-Aid over the situation that we have. Derek Carr goes to the 1109. Let me know what you think about us passing on Derek Carr. My issue is when we take Lamar Jackson there, essentially we are banking on Lamar Jackson giving us enough production to really get us through that tournament style format. So like if Lamar Jackson gets injured or something and we have Mark Andrews already, this team is just completely toast. So if we take Lamar Jackson early like that, I'm probably going to be passing on Carr here. Say if our quarterback 1 instead was an Aaron Rodgers, was a Matthew Stafford, or a Dak Prescott that we took in the 7th or 8th round, there would be a lot more willing to take Derek Carr. But the opportunity cost that we had associated with Lamar Jackson makes it harder to completely neglect the wide receiver position as we've been doing so far. I understand the argument, though, is for someone wanting to go Derek Carr there. Okay, so Ronald Jones goes to the 1201. Thank God these running backs starting to go. Ronald Jones, great pick there. Great pick there. Rashad Penny about to make it to us, pick 137 with an ADP of 115. David Bell goes at the 1203. Ooh, this is brutal. Okay. Corey Davis goes to the 1204. You know what? I think we're just going to have to ignore ADP yet again. We got caught with our pants down. Let's revisit our draft. I think where we made the mistake was going Devin Singletary. Where we made the mistake was either going Devin Singletary or following it up with James Cook. Let's look at the wide receivers we could have had there instead. Oh. Okay. So let's go through, check this out. Yeah, we go Devin Singletary in the 9th, James Cook in the 10th. Instead in the 9th, we could have gone with Chase Claypool. We could have gone with Michael Gallup. We could have gone with Robert Woods. That was the mistake of this draft, were those Devin Singletaries and James Cook picks. Did not know how this draft board was going to go out there and just hammer in these wide receivers. Of course, it's a lesson learned. But looking back on it, if we could change anything, it would be those Buffalo running back selections, because let's say instead here at the 908, we go Chase Claypool. We take Chase Claypool here at the 908. And then instead of having to take George Pickens at the 1205, we're able to grab Rashad Penny. We're able to just go ahead and take that value. Or even instead of grabbing Jacooby Myers here at the 1108, we could have taken Derek Carr. The issue is we got caught with our pants down at the wide receiver position, and we are having to pay the price now. And let me show the entire draft board for anybody just now coming into this live stream. And of course, thank you for everybody coming into the live stream. If you have not done so already, go down there and drop a like on the stream. So in the first round, we went with Austin Eckler. In the second round, we were lucky enough to have Mark Andrews making it to us. And the third and fourth, don't love the value of these players, but we were needing to go with the receiver so we can avoid just getting decimated at the position, as we ended up getting anyway. So we go Jalen Waddle, we go DK Metcalf as the highest or graded players according to ADP. We go Lamar Jackson to the 508. Ecstatic to get Lamar here to stack with Mark Andrews. We have Antonio Gibson at the 605. If I had to redo this, yeah, I'm still taking Antonio Gibson over this tier. Receivers like Burks, London, Elijah Moore, and Amara St. Brown. Hopkins in the 7th. Hunter Renfro in the 8th. This is where we messed it up. Devin Singletary, James Cook. Maybe we could have gone with one of them, but we got too stubborn in taking both. Rashad Penny makes it all the way to pick 143. It's like 30 picks behind ADP for Rashad Penny. Fantastic selection there. Oh, that is great. Justin Fields goes to the 12-12. We ended up getting Justin Fields at like pick, I feel like we got him at like pick 168 or something crazy in last night's live stream. Bobby says, I was asking for Gallup there, but he was gone by the time you picked Cook. Yeah, it is what it is. I think a couple of those other wide receivers would have been fine for us to take. Bobby says Lamar is definitely the best value pick. Yeah, we got lucky with Lamar, though. I mean, Lamar fell a substantial amount compared to where he's usually drafted. So I'd love to flex and everybody go, oh, yeah, we're a genius. Look at where we grabbed Lamar Jackson. No, I think if anything, we just got very lucky with where we grabbed Lamar Jackson. Okay, so let's go through the wide receiver position is decimated as you would expect. I don't even know if we can take a wide receiver if we get on the clock here at the pick 152. James Robinson goes 148. Tua has an ADP of 130. He doesn't line up the same buy as Lamar Jackson. We don't have... Actually, no, we have Waddle. Never mind. We have Waddle. So if Tua makes it back to us, we're taking Tua Tagovailoa. Bontier only has one quarterback. Now, they do have Tom Brady. Do they have any Miami Dolphins pass catchers? No, they don't have any Dolphins. They're also very weak at receiver. They're actually weaker than we are. They only have 5. Their wide receivers are of higher caliber. I will admit that. And Eric only has 5. Yeah, so I'd imagine he probably ends up going, especially he has Allen Robinson, probably Van Jefferson. We probably get Tua here in the 13th. I am not a fan of Tua, but when you go Waddle, like if this team's going to make any noise whatsoever, Tua has to be decent. And it is a different buy. So let's queue up Tua. We'll see if Bond lets us have him. Yeah, he goes Van Jefferson, kind of what we were assuming he had to do. So we're going to go Tua Tagovailoa, and now we are no longer drafting quarterbacks. We get Tua 22 picks after his ADP to stack with Waddle. I'm completely fine with it. We are going to need to bring in one more tight end with this draft, though. We are going to need to bring one more in. Okay, so Did Winston just go? Okay, yeah. Jeffrey here, he went through and he built around the stack that you had with the New Orleans Saints. He has Kamara, he has Michael Thomas, he has Chris Olave. I wouldn't have been surprised if he grabbed Jarvis as well. Jarvis went at the 11:02. He took Derek Carr instead. Derek Carr fell also like 30 picks according to his ADP. Bobby says maybe Matty Ice or Jameis Winston in 2 to 3 rounds instead of Tua. The thing is, if we pass on Tua here, what wide receiver are we taking? Like, what's the opportunity cost on passing on Tua Tagovailoa? Like, no, we have the stack. It doesn't line up with the same buy. Like, I feel like it's... Are we going to be crying if Will Fuller goes off before us and instead we need to go get Joshua Palmer, Alec Pierce? I don't think we're crying, regardless of what happens there. Okay, so Tyler Higbee goes to the 14:03. David Njoku doesn't have the same buy as Mark Andrews. Who would we be looking at tight end on the way back? We'd get someone like Logan Thomas. Do we want Will Fuller or Njoku? I think we probably just go Will Fuller. Now, the issue is, where does Will Fuller sign? Of course, if he ends up signing with Green Bay, if he ends up signing with Cleveland, I will be jumping up and down in excitement. And that in a best ball format, when we don't have to submit a starting lineup, you know Will Fuller does have the access to 40, 50-point spike weeks. Now, he's also going to miss a significant amount of time. We don't know how many games we're actually going to get from him. But come on, it's Will Fuller in the 14th in a best ball format. We need the wide receiver position, so we are going to go with Fuller. I think the drop-off we are going to have at tight end later isn't too much. And we have Andrews. We took Andrews in the second round, so if this team's going to make any noise whatsoever, Mark Andrews has to stay healthy all season. Mark Andrews has to be a top 3 tight end. Okay, so Odell Beckham Jr. at the 14:08. And I will say, if you were just playing in a regular 12-team league where you don't have the tournament-style draft, yeah, if you're needing to care about your floor, you're probably going to go with the tight end there. You're probably going to go David Njoku over Will Fuller. But we had the tournament at the end. So we need to be taking that into account. We need to be going and getting someone like Will Fuller. Kenneth Gainwell goes to the 14:10. Now that we have Fuller, I think we have the flexibility to really go with either wide receiver, running back, or tight end on the way back around in the 15th based on the value that presents itself. We are not going to go quarterback when we go with Lamar Jackson and Tua Tagovailoa. We are done at the position. Unless, like yesterday, we ended up, I believe, taking Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Y'all know I don't like Fields, but he fell like 30 picks according to his ADP. We decided that we were not drafting another QB, and we were from the 101. So we had the very last pick in the draft. We were taking Mr. Irrelevant. We were pretty much locking in Byron Pringle for the selection. And then Daniel Jones fell. I don't want to say we panicked. I just have never seen a quarterback that has the rushing upside like Daniel Jones be there at the last pick, like he was about to go undrafted. This is interesting. So we went with Daniel Jones instead. But I'm wondering if it was a mistake to go through and take that third quarterback. Okay, so Marlon Mack goes to the 15:01. If we were to take a running back here, I don't care for Raheem Mostert's going in the last round. Actually, we have Tua. We have Waddle. We are building around Miami. Interesting. I guess, let me walk that back. If he falls 10 picks in his ADP, we will consider it. Kyle says, Daniel Jones rushing upside, ? Yeah, Daniel Jones could easily get to 400 rushing yards in a season. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he can get to 400 rushing yards in a season. Mac Jones goes to the 15:02. I've seen Mac Jones just consistently fall in these drafts. Like, I've seen Mac Jones go in the last round of some of these. Okay, so Raheem Mostert goes to the 15:03. Thank you for making my life a little bit easier. Evan here has 6 running backs. They go Logan Thomas. Okay, you kind of expected them to go tight end. That was not who I thought they were going to be taking. Flocking up, my dude has Darren Waller. He has only 3 RBs. Now, he does have Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, and J.K. Dobbins, so they are 3 very good running backs. Interesting. I have no idea what he's going to do here. He has 8 receivers. I'm assuming he's done at the wide receiver position. He goes Njoku. Eric has Kittle and Goddard. I'm assuming he's done at tight end. Bond would be the only person I'm worried about taking a tight end. He currently has Gronk and Robert Tonyan. Now, previously, I was done after we had those two guys. So I was like, oh, I had Gronk and Tonyan. We're good. I've learned that it's a mistake. I learned that you have to take a third. Now, I don't know if I'm taking a third here in the 15th round or if we are just going to go and wait until later on and grab like a Gus Edwards here. Of course, you know what we're hoping for. Let's see what happens. He goes Hamler. So, yeah, we get Noah Fant. Noah Fant does have a different buy of Mark Andrews, and we have DK Metcalf. So I guess we're kind of hoping that Seattle somehow finds an answer at quarterback. They go through, they trade for Baker Mayfield, they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Not saying it's likely, but it's possible. And now we are done drafting both quarterbacks and tight ends. Actually, very happy with how that went, because if you're looking at the wide receivers that were available to us in that last round, like, in my opinion, they're not in the same tier. Like, I'm not having Curtis Samuel or Donovan Peoples-Jones in the same tier as someone like Will Fuller for a best ball format. So I'm happy with our decision to pass on David Njoku to get Noah Fant in the 15th instead. Yeah, I think we're going to go with Noah Fant and Will Fuller over someone like, say, David Njoku and Curtis Samuel pretty much every day of the week. Okay, Jamal Williams goes at the 15-12. Let's pull this back up, maybe. The issue with Gus Edwards, obviously, is Mike Davis signing. What did the Mike Davis contract look like? Mike Davis contract, $1.2 million. Essentially the same contract. It's like the same exact contract James Conner had last year. Not saying he's James Conner or anything, just putting in perspective. Brian Robinson goes to pick 182. I do like the Brian Robinson selection. Okay, there's a player I want. There's definitely a player I want. Running back, there are some names that I'm kind of fine with later on. Gus Edwards goes anyway. Yeah, there are two wide receivers left that I'm looking at. Tannehill continuing to fall. Tannehill may end up being one of my most drafted quarterbacks. The issue is you either have to get Burks or Robert Woods. I think every team I've drafted Ryan Tannehill with, we haven't even had a stack with him. It's just like, okay, Tannehill's here in the 16th round. We don't have a second quarterback. Guess we're going Tannehill. Yeah, Evan Ingram goes at 184. We're going to go through and take Robbie Anderson. Now, Robbie Anderson had a horrendous, very bad season last year. I kind of want Wan'Dale Robinson instead. But no, we'll just go ahead. We'll take Robbie Anderson. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be difficult when we have Hopkins, when we have Pickens, when we have Will Fuller, potentially these players not producing at the beginning part of the season. If we go back and just zoom out 2 years ago, let me look this up to confirm, because I don't want to embarrass myself on the live stream right now. But I believe 2 years ago, Robbie Anderson averaged more points than Cooper Kupp in fantasy football. Now, like I said, let me look this up to confirm. 2020 fantasy football leaders. Now, we'll see. It's crazy to say, but I think it's true. I'm almost certain it's true. Robbie Anderson, last year, PPR. This is actually half PPR. I'm sorry. Let me get a half PPR for Underdog. There's Robbie Anderson. Okay. I think I'm mistaken. Robbie Anderson, Robbie Anderson averaged 11 points per game, 176 total points. Cooper Kupp averaged 10.9 per game, 162 points. Now, of course, I'm not saying that's going to happen again. Of course, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that Robbie Anderson has had access to spike weeks in years past. He was also a wide receiver 2 on the Jets a very long time ago. He doesn't have any competition whatsoever in Carolina. They didn't bring anybody else in. They just have DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey there. So, it is what it is. Okay, so Robinson lasts all the way until the end of the 16th. Love that pick of Wan'Dale Robinson. Devin Duvernay goes to the 17-1. Devin Duvernay was going to be a wide receiver we are drafting here with our Lamar Jackson stack. Now, I guess we are no longer able to do that. And probably made a bad Tua selection considering you can get Tannehill here. Like, since we have Lamar, I'm very hesitant to take someone like Tannehill. But at some point, it does get interesting. We are going to be taking one more running back and one more receiver in this draft. I have my eyes on a single running back on the board. And usually when we're going with the wide receiver in our last round, we're trying to take a wide receiver that's not getting drafted in every league. We're trying to have a unique pick just because if that player does pop off during the tournament, you don't want everybody else to have him on that same roster. And yeah, I already know. I'll be willing to say it out loud because I don't think anybody's going to grab him from us. Our wide receiver pick is most likely going to be Cedric Wilson. Unless our running back goes off the board. Yeah, J.D. McKissic goes. So maybe we instead take a... Well, we'll take a shot on Keontae Ingram. It is what it is. I know a lot of people think that Keontae Ingram is some great option. And Bobby says, Tyquan Thornton. Thornton's actually a player I haven't drafted at all in Dynasty, but in best ball, because of his speed, I've taken some Tyquan Thornton. Now, I think he's actually probably one of my most drafted 18th round players. The thing is, we have Tua Tagovailoa. We have Jalen Waddle here. So I think that's why we're going to be going through and taking Cedric Wilson. Okay. And... let's see if we go. Do we go Keontae Ingram? Brian Edwards of the 1707. Yeah, let's just go ahead and take Keontae Ingram. It feels so bad. It feels so bad to take Keontae freaking Ingram over Daniel Jones, over Jared Goff. Like every draft I'm in from here on out, I'm building a giant stack. I'm waiting and grabbing that third quarterback in the last round. I'm just taking Daniel Jones. Like, dear God. And yeah, Cedric Wilson's going to be our last guy. And I see Chris says, are you doing another draft tonight? Probably not, my man. We did 2 drafts yesterday, and it's almost 6. I got to walk the dog. How about this? We have 220 people watching the live stream. We've had a little over 1,000 views on this live stream. I'm saying this right now because I know it's not going to happen because we got about 30 seconds left of this draft. If this live stream goes over 200 likes, like I'm saying this because it's not going to happen. So I know I look like an ass, but it's not happening. This live stream goes over 200 likes. We will get another one going, but it's not happening. Okay. So you have Cameron Brate, Isaiah McKenzie going at the 17-18 turn. Let me know, do you prefer Keel Shakir over Isaiah McKenzie if you have that Buffalo stack? Like if you took Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis? I probably would prefer going Shakir than Isaiah McKenzie. Being drafted as wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, if you want to count Dawson Knox as a receiver, pretty much wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. Okay, so Shakir goes at the 1802. Haskins at the 1803. I may do it again. Instead of Cedric Wilson, we may go Daniel Jones. I think we have, like, realistically, who contributes more to our starting lineup this upcoming season? I don't care that we already have Lamar. I don't care that we have Tua. Our wide receiver core is so weak. But to just take the guaranteed points of Daniel Jones and throw it away, or someone like James Washington, Sterling. I know it's best ball. I know you have that tournament at the end, but if we play through this wild scenario, we take Daniel Jones here. Lamar Jackson goes down week 2 with a high ankle sprain. Lamar Jackson misses week 2 through week 10. And if we take Daniel Jones, somehow we stay afloat, somehow we stay alive. And then for the tournament, you have Lamar Jackson making it back, and every other team only drafted Lamar Jackson and one other quarterback, and they didn't make the tournament. Lamar Jackson comes back, and he smashes. In that world, Daniel Jones is probably a more profitable pick. If you just think through this, I think Daniel Jones is probably a better pick than Cedric Wilson, which probably I'm overthinking. It probably doesn't need to be discussed that much, but it looks like, yeah, we have 150 likes in the live stream. I said that because I knew we weren't going to get 200. Like I said, I'm an ass, but we live streamed for a couple hours yesterday. We live streamed again today, and I will try my best to get another stream going for y'all tomorrow. Please make sure you go sign up to Underdog Fantasy with the link in the live chat, the link in the description, the link in the comment section. Use promo code FLOCK to get a 100% deposit bonus to get our 2022 rankings, our Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie draft guide, over 130 pages. Yeah, and get into drafts with us on the live stream. Thank you again. I truly appreciate y'all, and I hope you have a great day.